Welcome to the Wholesaling Inc. podcast, America's #1 podcast for new real estate investors, where we know that finding discounted properties is the most proven path to financial freedom. I am your host, Brent Daniels, Mr. TTP, Mr. Talk to People, and I am telling you this: if I can do this business, so can you. So let's get started. Have you ever had a lead that didn't have any equity? Or maybe you had a lead that had motivation, but they still wanted a pretty high price, maybe a price that didn't really make sense for a traditional wholesale transaction. Because we know in wholesale, we need two things. We need equity and we need motivation. Well, I'm going to interview two guys here. I'm going to have a conversation that squatted up. One that had expertise in creative finance. The other one is a TTP family member that found the opportunity, and they were able to blend together to find an incredible opportunity for an over six-figure deal. It is my pleasure to bring on to the podcast Trystan and Trystan. How are you guys?
Very well, thank
you. All right,
Brent.
good. So let's crack this thing open. I'm going to start with you, right? Because you found this opportunity, and we've had a lot of conversations. We've worked together personally, one-on-one, and you are really figuring out what you want to do in this business.
Correct.
Right? You're figuring out what really makes you happy and confident being a real estate investor. So let's dig into kind of what your background is and how you found wholesaling as a business and real estate investing and what you're doing.
Sure. So I found Wholesaling Inc. back in 2019, August of 2019.
Yeah.
The way I found it was my dad, who is also a Wholesaling Inc. student, him and my mom, they were with Cody and Tom doing the mailers and stuff.
Yeah.
So at the time, I was applying to different police agencies across the Nevada and Arizona. And my dad's like, hey, maybe this is not the right path for you. He's like, check out Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I want you to listen to some podcasts. I want you to start off with Wholesaling Inc. He's like, because that is the mentorship we joined.
Sure.
So it wasn't until July of 2020 that I joined TTP, and here I am now.
That's awesome. So you wanted to be a police officer. Why didn't your parents want you to be a police officer? Well, why were they like, hey, well, before you do that, why don't you start filling your head full of this whole real estate investing business?
I think it was just the drastic change in the way the world viewed police officers and treated police officers and stuff. And they're like, hey, maybe that's not the right path for you. They never discouraged it. They're like, hey, if you want to go do it, go do it. Like, we have no qualm about that. But hey, like, there's other things out there besides that. And so, I had applied to probably like 4 or 5 different agencies and kind of got the door shut in my face, probably due to age. At that point, I was getting ready to go down to Lake Havasu City, Arizona, and apply for their police department.
Sure.
And that's when my dad's like, hey, like, check this out first before you go do that. That's not going anywhere. So that's what started my journey on real estate, opened my eyes to a whole other possibility.
Yeah. Trystan.
So I come from a background of 20 plus years in technology, systems engineering, and most recently information security.
Sure.
And I found Rich Dad after having it on the shelf for a couple of years and then pulling it out and kind of regretting not reading it 2 years before, but we were at a perfect place. So I started out with one of the more expensive education programs, and I got what I got from that. I didn't take a lot of action. And then it was actually in this building, really, that I came over to look at batch skip tracing one evening.
Yeah.
I was looking at their just skip tracing program. It was the launch of their SMS night.
Yeah.
So I think you were here. I didn't know you guys at this point. And shortly afterwards joined Pace's program.
Yeah.
Started about a month or so later, and just really aligned with the creative finance side of things. I really enjoyed working with people. I come from a customer service background before IT, and I've just thoroughly enjoyed, enveloping myself in the community.
Yeah.
And swelling with the community and, sort of creating my own community to unite these communities together. So it's been fantastic.
I love it. Let me ask you this, just from your experience and both I want your answers. Why didn't you take action in that first one? What do you think stops people from, you get the education and they're like, okay, here's the direction to go, what do you think stops you from like really like making it a major attention in your life? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. Excuses.
Okay.
I've got kids, I've got this, I've got that, I've got a day job, I was working sort of out of hours on call, that kind of thing.
Sure.
And also I wasn't really inspired to do so by the education either. There was education there, but they're known as a sales company for education, but not necessarily a provider of education.
Yeah.
I think you probably know the company I mean.
Well, listen, I think that, you know, if they're traveling around the country, they're really great at sales. They're terrible at fulfillment.
Absolutely.
It's just the truth.
Yeah.
You know, they'll hit you with a lot of education, not a lot of instruction. And this is not me, you know, it is me obviously knocking on it because, you know, I've been through that and I was like, I didn't get anything out of this. They basically just told me that I could pay some money and get some paperwork that I don't know how to fill out, and I can have some support with somebody that's not those guys on stage. It's like somebody that they hire for an hourly wage. And once I understood that, I was like, oh, okay. You know, once you peer behind the curtain and see what really happens, you're like, oh, this is just a big funnel. This is just a big funnel to get people to go to the back of the room, sign up, you know, $10, $20, $30, $40,000, and then kind of assume people won't know enough and just kind of stop. I mean, that's the truth. I mean, I've had a lot of those stories with a lot of people that have joined the TTP family. What about you? Join TTP.
So, yeah.
You got the instruction.
Yeah.
You got the coach.
Yeah.
You got the support.
What holds me back is it's a whole new arena of stuff. And I work currently in the security industry up in Vegas.
Sure.
So a lot of it's very like you're on your own. You're kind of your own, you know, you have your bosses, you have a team around you, but you're tasked by yourself. You just kind of what's the word?
You don't have to have a lot of social interaction.
Correct. And when you do have social interaction, most of the time it's not the friendly type of social interaction because it's like, hey, I'm telling you the rules. These are the rules. This is why. And it doesn't, you know, it's not really a positive interaction.
Right.
It's gotten better since I started working with like HOAs and stuff like that.
Okay.
Because obviously you're dealing with people's homes and residents and stuff. So, you know, most of the time they're friendly. They're pretty friendly most of the time. But then when something goes wrong and then they come wagging your finger at you. So coming into the real estate business where I'm like talking to a bunch of different people from a bunch of different backgrounds, you know, it's nerve-wracking.
Sure.
You know, because I haven't had kind of the social experience similar to this in many years.
I think a lot of people feel that way.
Yeah.
I really do. I don't think that you're on an island by yourself out there thinking that that's just you know, having that. I think a lot of people initially it's tough to get past the point of really consistently talking to strangers and feeling okay about it.
Yeah.
That's why, like, people trying to do this by themselves, like just at their house and just starting and doing it. Some people do it, and it's incredible. But a lot of people find that their resolve, their consistency starts chipping away just because they're not getting a lot of support and or they just feel like it's not really moving the needle in the direction. Because you have to talk to a lot of people.
Yeah,
you have to talk to a lot of people to get these over six-figure deals, right?
Yeah, correct.
So, but you ended up having a conversation with somebody you worked with.
Yes. So it was funny how it happened. I was working overtime.
Yeah.
And it was a graveyard shift, so nothing's going on. And I just happened to drive down to the gatehouse where another coworker was at, and that's when he asked me. He's like, "Hey, I hear that you talk about real estate all the time. Are you in real estate?" And I gave him kind of.
So wait a second. For the guy that is by himself all the time, this guy knows that you're talking about real estate. So you're obviously communicating on some levels.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right.
I mean,
so you got to give yourself credit.
Making mentions about it.
Sure.
So. Anyways, I get down to the guardhouse and he asks me, "Are you in real estate?" And I kind of give him the maybe, you know, I'm interested in it. And he's like, "Okay, well, I'm having a problem with my house." He's like, "I'm going to be going through a divorce. I need to get rid of it."
Yeah.
And so I asked him, you know, the typical questions. So we got the motivation is divorce. Asked him the condition of the house. He's like, "Oh, it's pretty good condition." I didn't do too much digging because I'm at work.
Yeah.
And then I asked him what's your timeline to sell, and that was the finalization of the divorce. So I asked him, like, you know, what's the address? I'll look it up. And I took it home and asked my dad, who's, you know, involved in the business.
Yeah, sure.
Can you pull this up on PropStream? Because I don't have access to that. You do. So he pulls it up on PropStream. And let me back up a little bit. The coworker said he owed $280 on the house.
Okay.
That's what he said he owed on.
Yeah.
So come to find out when we looked at it on PropStream, he owed closer to $300 on the house because of a refinance. So my dad was like, well, he's like, it's super tight. We cannot wholesale this. He's like, and it is still tight because we can't do like a whole tail. We can't go in and take it over, fix it up a little bit and relist it because it was worth, I think at the time, like $305.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, well, shoot, I don't want to let this guy down because he did come to me and ask me for help. And I know there's people out there to solve his problem.
Yeah.
So I met Trystan on Wholesale Hotline.
Yeah.
This was shortly after I joined TTP. So it was probably like August or September of 2020.
Sure.
August.
It was August.
The 19th, if I remember
Yeah.
rightly.
So I was like, I reached out, text him. I'm like, hey, Trystan, can you check this out? This is what's going on. This is the price. This is the motivation. This is the timeline. Maybe talk to him and see what you can do.
Yeah.
And then Tristan's like, no problem. I'll take it over from here. And yeah.
Awesome. So you're looking at this, Trystan, and you've got a deal that's worth $305. They owe $300. It's a divorce situation. How's the condition of the property?
The only pictures we had were from about 6 months earlier when they had tried to list the property themselves initially, because they refinanced it about 6 months before that. Then he knew he was getting divorced. They tried to list it, couldn't sell it. Now, one of the things that we saw was that it was a VA loan, so there was pretty much little or nothing down.
Right.
The refi was going to give him...
Explain to everybody that just...
Oh, of course.
How much do you have to put down for VA loans?
Pretty much nothing.
Right.
And they'll just put all of those costs on the back end, the origination fees, any points, anything else, it just goes on the back end. So effectively, although it's a great way for military and ex-military to buy houses, it can put them underwater if they're not putting money down.
Sure.
So even when they buy the house, they're underwater.
Mm-hmm. And did they just buy the house? Were they in there a little bit?
18 months.
18 months,
At
and
that
they
point.
pulled out a home
And they
equity line?
refinanced it. Yeah.
Or refinanced it?
Yeah.
Holy cow. Okay, and the condition?
Pictures look good, and I hadn't seen it until November or October last year, so we'll get to that point in a minute,
Yeah.
But yeah, look pretty good condition.
Okay.
There were a couple of issues with the pool that he was going to have fixed. He was going to pay for that. But from August 2020, that was when he was looking to get divorced. His ex-mother-in-law was in there. He had moved out some point soon afterwards, so he wasn't living there, but he was paying the mortgage. So what would you do if you had a house that you lived in where you didn't have to pay the mortgage? Would you move
tough.
out?
I mean, now you're paying double fee. I mean, you have to live somewhere, so I assume he's either paying rent. He is paying rent because he bought the other one with the VA. So he's paying rent, and he's paying for his mortgage with his soon-to-be ex-mother-in-law living in the property, not paying anything.
And soon to be ex-wife too.
Oh, the whole family.
The whole family's there. Him and his young daughter are there. So he wants to keep on good terms with ex-wife because of the young daughter.
Yep.
And the poor guy's paying rent somewhere else. He's being double dipped by somebody else.
Sure.
And she's got no reason to move out because she's got a free life.
Right.
Kind of like the foreclosure situation.
Sure.
No motivation at all.
And March hits 2020. We all know what happens, right?
Yep.
Everything, the whole world changes.
Yep.
Whole world is like somebody pressed pause on it, right?
Yep.
And pause and stay at home, right?
Yep.
And then so they dug in, I assume, right?
Even more people moved in from the family because of COVID.
Oh my gosh.
So they couldn't afford stuff elsewhere. That was before the moratorium hit. So they moved into this home. So there was like 12 people living there, according to the seller.
Wow. Probably
some
not any
point.
pets with 12 people though, right?
Well, it's funny you should say that, but they were breeding dogs at some point. When I went there last year, there was I think they call it a bull in the garage. And there were 2 or 3 other bitches in the house and lots of puppies.
Yeah.
And lots of urine smell from dogs.
Wow. So you've got this coworker that is literally losing equity in his house because the property's getting destroyed. And so what do you guys do to solve it?
So, yeah, I stayed in touch with the seller. I mean, Chris helped me. You know, there was just balancing that communication between somebody that's a little remote that doesn't know him and the rapport that Chris has with him as a co-worker and now as a problem solver with him. Just followed up, kept being there as support for him, finding out if there was any movement on the divorce. There wasn't for quite some time. Obviously, COVID was part of that with the court system slowing things down.
Yep.
But it all came to a point where about 6 months after we met, about January last year, they were thinking about moving out. I was helping them with another sub-2 student try and find the ex-wife and mother-in-law rental. But of course, that was going to cost them money. So after offering them $2,000 or $3,000 cash for keys kind of thing for them to move out, they just kind of went dry on me and didn't hear from them for some time. But I was staying in touch with the seller. And
how are you feeling when that happens? When you're like, okay, this is a deal. I know I can help them out, and then all of a sudden, boom, ghosting. Right? They just ghost you, and
so this situation was a bit different. I knew that with her ghosting me, she was ghosting me because she had a free house to live in, and there was no motivation from her. But I was staying in touch with the seller, where he was motivated, and he was trying to stay in contact with me. He was kind of updating me from time to time when he had the contact with the mother or his daughter and his ex-wife, and he was motivated still, but they weren't replying. So I just had to be there and coach him along and just make sure he knew that the solution was here for him when he was ready. So 15 months went by altogether before I actually went up there.
Really?
Yeah.
And is that, you were talking to him for 15 months before you got it under contract?
Correct.
Wow. But you got it under contract for the amount that he owes?
We got it. I gave $7,500 cash to seller.
Okay.
So they owed $300. I gave them $3,075.
Yeah.
Closing costs, I think we're in for $313.
Got it. And then you took over the loan subject to?
That's right. Yeah. Of course.
And you could do that with a VA loan.
Well, we did what we call a wrap. So it didn't transfer the deed. So it didn't.
Let's break this down, because this is going to be real interesting for people.
That would be great. Yeah.
Right? Because listen, this is kind of the rule of thumb, right? Cash offer, then get creative, right?
Yeah.
Like, go after them, try to get as many deals as you can under contract for a cash as is offer. That's going to be the simplest and the smoothest, and give you really nice spreads.
Yeah.
If you can't, then you got to get creative. If there's no equity, like this situation. Actually, I assume that by the time you talked to him 15 months later or got it under contract, there was a lot of built up equity, knowing what happened in 2020 and 2021 in the Las Vegas market.
Yeah,
correct.
But he just wanted to get $7,500, and he wanted to lock this thing up at what he owed.
Yeah.
And he didn't want more, even knowing the market was going bananas.
No.
He just wanted to be done with it.
That was the pain.
Speed and convenience.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So why not just lock it up as a cash offer at $313 and then just sell it for much more? Because we'll get to what you made on this, which is phenomenal. Why not just lock it up at $313 and as a cash offer and assign it?
With what I knew of the market, I'm based in Arizona. I'm not specializing in Nevada, so I wasn't terribly clear. But, prop stream, batch, comping, that sort of thing, we knew that it was probably $350, $360, maybe a bit more based on sales.
When you locked it up?
When we locked it up. So there wasn't really that much in there to be able to just list it again. And fortunately, I didn't look at that cash offer because he just wanted to get his credit repaired, because he had some other things that were falling behind as well with paying rent and mortgage. So it was a benefit to him to have the mortgage paid on time for a longer period of time.
Got it.
I thought about maybe Airbnb-ing it, but the community wasn't an HOA-friendly Airbnb location.
Right.
And since when I went up there in October, when I did have it under contract, she finally signed it. So I flew up for the day just to walk the property, because I had to get eyes on it just to make sure I knew what I was getting myself in for.
Sure.
And that's when the bomb dropped, and we saw lots of holes in drywall, kicked in doors.
You got 12 people living in there.
There were
With
only
dogs.
3 or 4 in there at that point.
Sure.
But there was like 12, 15 dogs in there. And, I didn't see our other friends. Well, I should explain in a moment there at that point. But it was a mess. There was Sharpie on the walls, 2 or 3 broken windows.
So you're looking at this thing and you're like, okay, he owes $300. It's worth $350 based on the comparables right now.
Yeah.
And it needs $50K worth of work. Are you wondering if you made a good decision here?
On the sub 2, I by that point I'd seen that there was more room in there. I was leaning closer to 400,000 at that point.
The price is creeping up.
Yeah, because
that is, and we joked before this podcast. Thank God for inflation.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
No, but I mean, honestly, the housing market really. I mean, you hit it right, and it just went. Whew,
yeah.
It went crazy. It went really, really bananas here in Phoenix and in Las Vegas. Las Vegas is kind of like our little brother market type of thing, and so you're walking in this. It's got, just it's destroyed, right? How old is this house? Is it a newer house? It has an HOA, so
it's 15 years old. It's about 2000.
Yeah.
Okay.
Late 90s, early
So this is a
2000s,
newer
yeah.
property. It's beat up, but cosmetic. It's not like you're changing floor plans. It's not
Right.
like you have to add on to the house.
Exactly.
It's not like you have to, get into those huge, rehab budgets.
Yep.
So you lock it up as a wrap. So talk to me about that. How does that work technically?
Sure. So basically, when you take over different types of loans,
Yep.
sometimes you can transfer the deed or the title, depends what sort of state it is. VA loans are very finicky. They're very, very trigger happy.
Sure.
Maybe there's something to do with the military on due on sale clauses.
Yeah.
So we just did a wrap of the original loan, didn't transfer the deed. So it's basically a contract for sale, basically. So the deed stayed in his name.
Is that the paperwork you used?
I can't remember exactly what we had. We just went through Driggs Title, who have done, a lot of.
So wait,
lot of
you let the
creative
title
deals.
company actually put together the paperwork to complete this transaction, not have to worry about being an expert in
Absolutely.
paperwork?
Yeah.
This is the guy. Listen, I'm going to look straight at the camera in this because, listen, I am telling you, this is huge. Our job is to find amazing deals. Our job is to serve. We go toe-to-toe, face-to-face, voice-to-voice with these property owners, and we help solve their problems. When it comes to all of the technicalities, rely on the people that deal with the technicalities all day long. That's the title company.
Absolutely.
So smart.
Yeah. And community is so powerful in being able to, build what you might call your power team or your team around you with the specialists that you outsource. And some of these are transactional relationships where it's a dollar for a service. Some of these are transformational relationships where you develop with your community. I knew that Driggs had done work, Constant Close work with them on some deals with Pace. In fact, Dylan Good's deal was done through there. I think that's the first time we had really become aware of them.
Sure.
But then finding the realtor, that was through a sub-2 student that's an EXP agent in California. She put me in touch with John Abatucci and the Pam Junge team. They took care of me, and they even met me up there on the second visit when I went up to the Thrive conference.
Yep.
We walked the property for the first time with the contractor and the realtor, just so that they had eyes on it. They had already brought me comps to show me that there were other properties that had closed in the area since I'd been looking, and there was a bigger upside than we were thinking of initially. And like you said, pulling the specialists, it's who,
That's
not
it.
how.
It's who, not how, for sure. I really like Constant Close. Rochelle with Constant Close, phenomenal. She knows everything, has every kind of paperwork you could need. I think it's about $400 or $500 a transaction. You can use TTP if you want to. I think you get $100 off with Constant Close. But any of those specialists, anytime you're running into these situations, they can help you out. And then they come in, give you the paperwork, get it all signed, organize it, turn it into the title companies that work with it. It's phenomenal. So if you don't want to go around or you don't have a referral, a lot of people don't have referrals for escrow officers. Constant Close, guys. Constant Close. It's phenomenal.
The great thing, a lot of people, and I'm sure a lot of your guys are doing virtual wholesaling. We've got a great guy called Michael Peason, who's one of your students.
course.
He's calling for a buddy of mine, Steve Crawford.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are working virtually. Do you know every title company in the country?
No.
I know a few of them that I need in Phoenix. I know American Title. I know Title Alliance of Phoenix.
Yep.
But when you've got somebody in Alaska or something like that, you don't want to do the legwork interviewing and looking up and say, subject to is illegal, you can't do that here. When you know you can do it, you just want to use your network and your contacts to be able to connect with the right people quickly and efficiently.
That's it.
And if they can offload from your work, then that's something that they do. They specialize in. They do it quickly and efficiently, and take that efficiency. Give you that efficiency by being efficient themselves.
Yeah. And you guys met on Wholesale Hotline.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Every Monday night, 5 o'clock, Arizona time, Wholesale Hotline. Check us out. Brent Daniels YouTube channel, Jamil Damji YouTube channel, Pace Morby YouTube channel. Either one, you can check us out. So what, you squatted up in the comments?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't remember exactly what the question was that I was asking. I think it was something to the effect of like, hey, how does a new person who's like brand spanking new, has no idea with anything, how do I get in contact with somebody who knows something, and then just match it up, because I'm like, I don't have a lot of value to offer because I'm brand new. So how can I squat up with somebody? And Trystan was like the first person to answer me. And so then from there, like we had a call that night, and talked a little bit life, talked about, what's going on. And then I'm like, cool, I've got, Trystan's contact. And then, it came in handy months down the road.
How many amazing people have you met from that?
So many. The power of squadding up. I mean, that creative JV group that I put together was for the purpose of bringing the PB&J fan clubs together and collaborating, and any, the disruptors, everybody, to just bring that community and expand it, not to take away from one, but just to enhance and bring our skills to your skills, to their skills, and.
Yeah, we find the deals, and then when we need to get creative, they come to you,
Absolutely,
right? And then that's phenomenal. What is that group? Tell everybody how to find that.
It's called Creative JV. If you go to, for the Phoenix chapter, it's phxjv.com. It'll take you to a meetup.com page.
Okay.
We've got groups in Southern California, socaljv.com, Northeast JV, which is New York, New Jersey.
Yep.
We have Tampa JV, which is TPA JV. We kind of go by airport codes generally. HOU JV, which is Houston. NorCal's coming online. We've got Wisconsin we're going to bring online. Hawaii, so that's HNLJV.com. That's Trystan and Kamahai over there. We just got just a growing network, so we can put new people like myself at one point, Christian at one point, but it's just bringing us together. So we got a local space to be free and collaborate and leverage each other's skills to do deals we couldn't otherwise do on our own.
Love it. Love it. So let's get back to the deal.
Yeah.
So you've got this wrap. You have the title company deal with the paperwork. You've got this thing in at about 313-ish, right? And then you see that this property's beat up. You've talked to a contractor and a real estate agent, all connected. And what do they say? How much work does this need?
I came back to Phoenix. I actually used my contractor for Phoenix. He drove up there.
Okay.
They stayed in Vegas and did the job, but we met him up there in November. We estimated about $30,000, and it would have been that had we not had a bit more work on the pool to do. One of his family members is in Vegas as a pool guy. He came around and looked a bit afterwards. We had another sort of $4,000 or $5,000 to spend on there. And just looking at the comps from the realtor, and this is the value of the collaboration between investors and realtors. They can give you some real detailed knowledge on the local market. And, most investors know this, but maybe newer ones that are doing flips don't necessarily pay attention to this. What are the cabinets in the kitchen? They refinished cabinets? Are they brand new cabinets? You got to look at these different things. Is it a brand new bathroom? Is it a refurbished, existing bathroom? Those are little nuances you need to look at to see where you need to make your spend to maximize your return on your investment. So we decided that with a couple of comps that were coming online, they had new kitchens, so we decided to do new kitchens. So we ordered them from Highland down here. My contractor picked them up, flat pack, built them up there. And also, in fact, the countertop was installed from here because, with most things, there's a long wait time on these things, but we knew we had availability for the countertop guy. He could drive up there, measure it, come back, build it, drive it back up in a quicker time than we could source it from a vendor that we didn't know may be reliable or may not be reliable.
Because time matters, because you're paying that VA loan every single month. I mean, that's just coming out of pocket. It's just straight out of pocket, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So we ended up spending about $45,000.
Okay, so let's just keep tabs here.
Sure.
313 all in price, $45,000 that you put into the rehab. Did you raise that $45,000, or did you just come out of pocket that $45,000 too?
I raised $30,000. I borrowed that from a sub-2 student. We support each other and collaborate on many different levels. Absolutely. Yeah. So Eric Davis lent for this one. We went through. That was the first time he had lent. He does flips himself, but he was always doing the work himself. So this was an opportunity to team up on a flip where, he participated from a lending perspective, and he got a different view on the situation. Now we're looking to do more flips together where we bring in a crew, maybe work together on the lending and the other sides of things. So from 30 it went to 45.
But real quick, when you're raising that 30, what does an investor expect as a return? You know what I mean? Is it a flat fee? Is it a percentage? Do they get a slice of the deal? How did you set this one up?
It all depends. Different deals. I mean, Pace is doing the Gator method. He's teaching us other things. But in this case, I think that he was on 12-14% interest. all paid at the end.
Yeah.
And
So deferred interest payments. Which is fantastic.
Yep.
Which, that's how I lend out to Luke Rotfold and the Viking boys and some incredible Omari and Tyrone in Indianapolis. They just pay me at the end of the year type of thing, and so or the end of the transaction, and it just works out better for the investor.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of investors want to get money coming in every month, just to do it. So
can you add me to your list?
If you're going, there you go. If you're no, and I'll tell you why in a second. If most of them want it deferred, and that's the way that you should approach it. We'll pay you at the closing, so you're not having to come out of pocket again each month.
And it's not so bad on a smaller borrow like this, but when you're looking at larger private money loans, when it could be $1,000 a month, that really does add up. But for $30,000, I came out of pocket for the other 45, the other 15. I came out of pocket for the closing costs. It just, with everything going on, I had a couple of other deals I was working on. My mind wasn't on it, and I didn't include the closing costs in the loan. So it just came across that way. So out of pocket, $5,000 for closing costs, give or take, 15 for their 30. So then 8% cost of sale.
Yep.
Which we'll come to in a minute, I'm sure. But yeah, it was a very smooth transaction, and we had a bout of COVID during the renovations, which was a little delay.
Sure.
But yeah, one of the things that we found were a bunch of friends behind the kitchen cabinets when they pulled out.
What kind of friends?
Oh, sort of 8-legged friends or 6-legged friends, the cockroach type.
Those kind of friends.
There was thousands of these things that just came out the woodwork.
Yeah.
So we had the bug people in and all sorts.
So you're 313, 45, 358 into it. You've got some costs here, but what'd you sell it for? And you sold it?
We did sell it.
Put it right on the market with the agent?
Yeah.
Okay.
So whilst we were in December, there was another comp that sold, which was great. It was a model match, and we were looking at prices to list. We were talking about maybe 440, maybe 435. Then we thought, well, maybe 450, but we said, let's just do 445.
Yeah.
It'll keep it a little bit low, below that threshold of the 4.5.
Yeah.
So we listed at 445. Before anybody had visited, the next morning we got an offer for 465, and they wanted us to take it off the market. It was a Wednesday.
Sure.
So I said, well, no, we're not going to take it off the market. If you're serious about it, we want you to obviously come and see it.
Yeah.
But we obviously want other people to come and see it as well. So by Friday, they knew we weren't going to take it off the market. They had an open house. We had 4 offers by Sunday night, and the original offer went up to 470, waiving contingencies. And that was the final number that we settled on. So
470, you're into it 458. It costs you 8%.
358.
358, 470. They cost you 8% to sell it. What'd you net on this thing?
I got a check for 108.
$108,000. Come on, Trystan. We've been waiting for this, baby. Come on, ring that bell. And for referring the deal over and just passing over the information, squatting up, what'd you make?
I made $2,750.
There we go.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And that's for probably max 3 hours of work.
Right.
On my end.
Right.
So
what'd you learn from it?
Learned a lot. That squatting up is powerful, and it's good to have the community.
Yeah.
So, and it's different for me, like getting used to the community and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's a valuable tool, and you got to use it.
Yeah.
So.
And the great thing was we had Chris over a couple of times during the renovation, because I flew up for little day trips just to kind of check in on things. I did drive up once and almost fell asleep on the way up there. But the good teaching moment was we could have a sub-2 and other people meet up there. We just got some of the sub-2 students out right before the Thrive conference. We got them to come around and walk the house and just kind of have another picture on a pre-flip house. Yesterday we walked a house, Templeton Walker's flipping over in Gilbert.
Awesome.
A couple of weeks ago we did one of Devon Burr's, and it's just good to see properties like that. And
incredible.
Yeah. So it's just getting around the right people. So I mean that's what I feel like I got to do is just get in with the right group, and then all of a sudden I'll assimilate to what everybody's doing.
That's right. That's right. And then when you get around the right people, all of a sudden you start making income. You start getting these big, massive deals. And then all of a sudden you're able to grow your team. right? You're able to expand out your team and start replacing yourself in certain roles. And really, it's lead manager, acquisition. I have a junior acquisition and disposition manager. And that's why I mentioned that I'm not lending more money now, because I go to my wealth advisor. They're like, listen, you're making too much money from this business.
Yeah.
It's too much cash. It's just going to go straight to income taxes. You need to start buying more property. That's why I said it. I would lend you money any day of the week.
What properties are you looking for, Brent? Maybe I can
I am looking for properties in Arizona.
Okay.
Yeah, in Arizona that either I can develop or that I can buy and hold multifamily. Yep.
Fantastic.
Yep. So yeah,
there's a couple lots in Sandtown I'm aware of that we might want to talk about.
Yeah, I'm closing on a lot in Prescott to build an 8-plex with Luke and Jake.
Brilliant.
And they're gonna do it. I'm gonna buy it cash, and we're gonna split it. I'm gonna have 70% equity. They're gonna have 30% equity. It's just a phenomenal opportunity. So they get 30% without any money in, but they're doing all the work.
Yeah.
So those type of deals, bring them to me all day long.
Absolutely.
Yep. Absolutely.
I mean, like we were saying earlier, I just feel much more in alignment in the last couple of weeks, and just some opportunities have come to me, which I'm thrilled about. I'm just bubbling up with it right now. I mean, it's not that I want to tell people or not tell people, but it's just that excitement of knowing you're in alignment, knowing you're the right people, and you're in the right circles. It's amazing.
Well, congratulations to both you guys.
Thank you.
You really helped out your coworker. You know what I mean? And it just so happened that it took long enough, and they dragged their feet long enough to where there was massive appreciation. You guys got it locked in. Were able to help him out, get that, behind him. Not only that, what was it, 60, 90 days before he got that loan back that he could use again, right?
Yep.
And now he's got a VA loan to use again and move on with his life after the divorce.
Yep.
It's beautiful. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
So
And
congratulations.
it just proves that leads can come from anywhere.
That's it. That's it. Christian, how do people get a hold of you? How do people squad up with you?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram. Just search my name, Christian_Riva_May. That's RIVA_MAE. So I'm on the Instagrams. Come find me.
Trystan
Trenberth on Instagram, Facebook, and just look out for me. You can look up @CreativeJV_ as well for the group.
Yes.
And just go to creativejv.com. We've got a platform where we kind of put people together.
Yeah.
Just moving on to a new development platform right now, so if it doesn't set you up a login, it will pretty soon.
Well, and you've been pushing hard for community. I mean, you've been pushing hard for community since they opened up the batch SMS text blasting, and you've done a phenomenal job. I mean, I've had more people tell me that you've been on the phone with them, really helping them out than anybody, to be honest. So really join the group. Check that out, everybody. Check out all of those groups because there is meetups, there is connection, there is face-to-face, there is getting together. Because like you said, sometimes you don't feel that confident. Sometimes you don't have a lot of experience socializing, and especially having conversations with distressed property owners. Well, maybe that's not your superpower. Maybe your superpower is something else in the business, and you can find somebody at those meetups that their superpower is the gift of gab, and they might be like the dumbest person ever, but they love talking to people, and they need you to be the brains. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
You know what I mean?
We'll figure it out.
That's usually me in the partnerships, but
it's like a jigsaw puzzle. You may be the piece in somebody else's jigsaw puzzle they're missing, or vice versa, or both. It's just finding that fit.
That's it.
Correct.
Well, congratulations, guys.
Thank you so
Over
much.
$100,000. So glad that you guys connected. So glad that you guys squatted up in the comments section of Wholesale Hotline. And now look at it. I mean, wins all the way around. You know now that it's a fact. You're not just living off of faith that you can do this business.
Yeah.
And you get a big, massive
And
deal.
I've even helped his parents
opportunity.
with a couple of deals. Unfortunately, they didn't come through. But it's just community is everything.
That's
connecting, and I think that's my superpower is connecting people.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. Well, that's it. Thank you guys for being on here. Thank you guys for listening. Christian mentioned PropStream. If you're looking to find a tool that's going to help you comp your properties and pull lists, check out ttpdata.com for that tool. And if you're interested in joining the most proactive group in real estate investing, it is the TTP coaching program. Go to wholesalinginc.com/TTP. That's wholesalinginc.com/TTP. Check out what it's all about. Check out the incredible wholesalers around the country having phenomenal success. If it feels good in your gut, sign up for a call. And that is it. I sign off by telling you that I love you and go out there and talk to people. See you later, guys.